Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Nathan Fox. That's Ben Olson. Together we're the founders of LSATdemon.com and our weekly podcast, Thinking LSAT. We've got an email here from M. It says, "Hey, Nathan and Ben, I'm a big fan of the LSAT Demon and both of your podcasts. I hear you guys talk a lot about regional versus national schools, and I'm wondering if you could discuss that a bit further. Background, I live in New York City, and I'm planning on applying during the 2022 cycle. I got my bachelor's degree about 8 years ago, and my GPA was 3.44. As we know, there's nothing I can do to change my GPA, and as a result, it seems like the schools of national importance in New York City are out of reach if I plan to live by the mantra, don't pay for law school. Even if I plug a 180 LSAT into the scholarship estimator, which by the way is at lsatdemon.com/scholarships, even when I plug that into the estimator, the 180, along with my 3.44 GPA, I'm looking at Columbia, unlikely. NYU, unlikely. Fordham, more than half. And then in parentheses, M asks, does this even qualify as a national school? I would say no if we have to decide between national and regional. I'm drawing the line somewhere above Fordham. I don't know where, but somewhere above that.
Yeah.
As a California boy, like there's nobody in California who knows where Fordham even is.
Yep.
There are other options in NYC and nearby New Jersey where I believe a full scholarship is possible based on the estimator, but they are all further down the rankings, and I don't presume any of them carry national prestige, but again, neither does Fordham. Some of these include Yeshiva, Seton Hall, Brooklyn, and St. John's. My questions are, these are in bullet points. Could you talk about what a regional versus national law school is and what importance, if any, that has? Is regional versus national something that I should even worry about? How do you see the balance between don't pay for law school and some of these national schools? Are there schools that outweigh your belief in the LSAT Demon motto? People are always asking us the same question, Ben. I'm trying to frame my perspective around the inherent value of law schools before I get tempted by a sucker's discount. Thanks for everything and for cutting through all the law school bullshit. Best, M." I guess I have to just take a little bit of the blame. You know, when we talk about these issues, it's really hard not to talk about national versus regional. If you don't talk about national versus regional, then you find yourself talking about top 10 versus not top 10, top 14 versus not top 14, top 20 versus not top 20. You hear people talk about top 50.
Yep.
You hear people talk about top 100. You know, and it's always just a matter, it's a shorthand, right? But it's a way of thinking in polar opposites that can be useful as a shortcut, but can also miss a lot of gray area.
Maybe. I actually think when it comes to national and regional schools, there is a cutoff. I think it's like the Pareto principle. I think there are a few at the top that are national and the rest are regional. That's
Yeah.
all. And
I guess
so
that's
I don't know
what
if it's so gray. You know, like you're either recognized nationally or you're not. And there's a few that are and the vast majority aren't.
Well, I guess that's, yeah. So when I talk about national versus regional, when I say national, I mean like truly national, where people on both coasts in a heartbeat know, Stanford University. That is
no one's like,
national.
wait, Stanford? Where's that? Huh?
Yeah.
Is that in Alaska? No, it's in California.
It's in California. And for law schools, Georgetown is a national university. It's not currently in the top 14. So fuck the top 14.
Yep.
Fuck US News generally.
Yep.
But Georgetown, you ask a high school kid in California and they're going to go, oh, that's a big East Coast law school.
Yeah. And what makes a national law school may be different than what makes that university nationally recognized. But generally speaking, we're looking at the top teens, right? And whatever. I don't know what the cutoff is. There is a little bit of a transition, right, between national and regional. Well, and there's some schools that have some national recognition, but not as broad. But Doesn't matter.
New York City might be the only exception to this rule, but how about we start with, is it the best school in your city? Like, if it's not the best school in your city, then is it really properly referred to as a national law school? When I think about, well, I mean, because that's when I think
Yeah.
about like USC, you know, it's like, well, there's a better law school, UCLA, that's so close. I think about that when I think about, you know, Hastings for sure. I remember people at Hastings thinking that Hastings was a national law school, trying to call it a national law school. It's like, what are you talking about? If you go to the top floor of the building, you can look across the bay and see an actual national law school over there. It's in Berkeley. Like, people
Yeah.
know about Berkeley. People don't know Hastings. Even people in California sometimes don't know where Hastings is.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, again, New York City.
So maybe New York and maybe LA, because I would consider USC maybe a national law school, but
I don't know.
those are rare exceptions. You wouldn't think of USC.
Well, you know USC because of USC football. Like, you know USC because of the Rose Bowl, and like USC is like it's a big nationally televised university, and so the name USC has some cachet that Fordham doesn't have. But as far as like what, USC is the fourth best law school in California?
Yeah,
mean,
but
like-
you could have good. I mean, California is a huge state and has a lot of schools. You know.
No,
and
but
good
my
schools.
point is, like, if you live in Florida and you want to live and practice in Florida, is there a planet on which you should go to USC because USC is a national law school? I don't really think so. I mean, only if USC is the best school that will give you a full ride. At that point, a Florida resident who doesn't have any higher ranking schools, you know, and if USC will let you go there for free, then I can see how a USC law degree would translate back to Florida, you know, but I is there a planet on which you would pay tuition at USC if you wanted to practice law in Florida? Fuck no.
No, but also I don't think there's ever. I don't know. I don't think there's ever a planet in which you should pay full tuition, except for maybe the top three.
Yeah.
And even then, I'd be very skeptical. The presumption would be against you.
Hey,
So
well, I will say this. I have great respect for our team. You know, if I'm going to respect anybody in the law school applicant world, I'm going to respect Carl and Sarah and Katie and, you know, our Demon alums who have gone on to law school. Those are some smart fucking people, and they thought about it a lot. They drank all our Kool-Aid in a variety of different ways, and they still made the decision to go ahead and pay for Yale and Harvard. And when people make those decisions, you know, those are people that know about that. I feel like they know more about it than I do. I mean, they're literally now at Yale, and maybe we can get them back and see if they are happy with their decision. But if we're going to make exceptions, we're going to be making exceptions for Harvard and Stanford and Yale.
And it does kind of make sense because it's at the very edge of the bell curve where everything starts to go exponentially like out of whack, right? So yeah, you're paying
Masters of the Universe style, like just, you know, walk right into some boutique prestige law school that, like, or some law firm, I mean, where they're not even in lockstep with the starting salaries. Like, they just pay people $500,000 starting salary or whatever. Like, just these like absurd kinds of jobs, you know, like opportunities that I don't even know about. Like, I have no connection to that world. I don't even know what we're talking about when we're talking about that type of shit. But I don't think NYU is it.
Yep.
Why would you go to NYU if you could go to Fordham for free? I can't. I don't think that NYU is a golden ticket that would justify $250,000 in debt. I think people need to broaden their horizons. I think that they need to apply broadly. Why does this person even want national prestige? M sounds like a New Yorker.
Yeah, Columbia, NYU, Fordham.
Why do you care? Like what? What? I'd be getting more. I would almost go more granular, like more local in my thinking if I was actually a New Yorker. I mean, I'd be
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm going to live my life in New York. There's plenty, if there's jobs anywhere, there's jobs in New York. And
Yep.
I would go for free in New York and plan on living and working in New York. I don't understand what future you're preparing for where you care about a quote national reputation. By the way, if you build yourself a successful, like go to Brooklyn Law School and build yourself a successful law practice in New York City, and you will build your own national reputation, even if the law school on your diploma doesn't automatically grant you a national reputation.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about doing here? Are you trying to get a job in Los Angeles? Like, if that's what you want to do, like if you're
Then
looking
go to LA.
well, yeah, then why not go to law school in Los Angeles?
Yeah, I think this person is just like, what's the best I can do? That's all they're thinking.
Which I have, we should. I hear you. I have great respect for that. I understand that. Yeah, you want the best for you, but you got to think about what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I guess maybe sometimes people are just like, well, I don't really know, and I want to keep all my options open. Man, that's real hard to do in life, though. Like,
Yep.
you got to just kind of do it, and I think one of the best ways to keep your life options open is to not incur a crushing amount of debt.
Yep. That's an easy way because then you're not bound down by it.
You're a New Yorker now. New York is awesome. You probably want to be a New Yorker forever. I can't imagine that going to Yeshiva or Seton Hall or Brooklyn or St. John's, I can't imagine that those are going to not give you copious opportunities in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, you'll build a practice that, if you want to take it to Los Angeles, you absolutely can once you're a successful practicing attorney. Do not take that sucker's discount. Do not. I think it's too easy, Ben, for people to just sign for way too much money, and they don't. It's like there's an extra zero at the end of the number that they just can't even. Their mind can't register.
Yep.
You don't realize how big that number actually is because it's too easy. You like fill out some paperwork and boom, it's done. And then you for 3 years, it's also like that temporal separation, right? Because it's going to be 3 years till you graduate and 4 years until you meaningfully practice. And it's like this weird separation where for a few years you get to sell yourself this myth that NYU has, is because it's a national law school, you've kept all your options open, but you've foreclosed a lot of options because of how much debt you've taken on.
Well, I want to know, has this person debated, and really anyone, Em, this isn't just for you, have you debated what plan you should get on Netflix? Right? Like you're sitting there and you're like, oh, well, should I get the higher res plan and then I could see movies in high...
I look at the 30 cents different prices on the fucking canned tomatoes.
Yeah.
I do. It's the stupidest waste of time. It's the dumbest thing I could ever do, but I absolutely do.
I mean, because my point here is that if you go to law school and pay versus not pay, let's decide not to pay. You could fuck up all those decisions. You could just you could pay for subscriptions that you never use. You just like, oh, I have an extra phone here. I didn't realize I had an extra phone here. But you're still way, way better than Joe Schmo who's like, yep, I keep track of all my expenses, but I paid for law school. That's just a royal fuck up.
Yeah, it's such it's just such an outrageous, enormous number. It's just absurd. I mean, yeah, just like, I don't know. It's useful to go through these numbers sometimes, but if you pay, let's say you pay $50,000 a year for tuition, which it's more than that, but 50,000 to be conservative.
Yep.
Another 10, or you live super frugally. Somehow you live on $15,000 a year.
Ice chips and ramen.
Ice chips. You know, like, okay, so you're paying $65,000 a year. That's very conservatively. That by itself is $195,000 that's with no interest.
Mm-hmm.
Not even counting the interest that you accrue while you're in school. You graduate with $195,000 in debt.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just call it 200,000. If you have a 5% loan, which you will probably not, it'll probably be higher than that. But 5% of $200,000 is 10 grand a year just in interest.
Yep.
800 something dollars a month just to tread water. That's just to not go further in debt. And that's with like every possible conservative estimate. So is it, yeah, compare that to your Netflix plan dilemma or whatever it is. But it's like, I mean, that's every month, no matter what. And you're not getting yourself out of debt.
Yeah.
You're just avoiding going further in debt. You would die with that $195,000 debt if you paid your $850 a month for the rest of your life. That's with conservative estimates. You would have to, and you pay that back, by the way, with like after-tax dollars, right? Maybe you get to write off the interest. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Point is, $850 a month going out of your paycheck just to service the debt. So that's like at a minimum, you have to make $10,000 more per year, and maybe you do, but maybe you don't. If you end up not practicing law, like half the people who go to law school do, like, does it matter that your school has national prestige if you don't end up practicing law?
It matters. Not at all. Well, I wanted to figure out how many Netflix accounts you could buy.
There we go.
With $10,000 of just interest. We're not talking about the principal here. We're just talking about
just to tread water.
Just to tread water to keep your loan from growing over time. You could buy 46 friends a premium subscription for a year. For that year, right? And you're not cheating here. You're not giving them your login information.
They can do that with all their friends. So instead of 46 friends, you're actually giving like 150 people free Netflix.
That's absurd.
All right. Anything else for M?
Nope.
Email daily. Thanks for writing in, M. Email daily at lsatdemon.com if you'd like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.